Welcome Jedi and Sith, bounty hunters and all. Today we're going to be talking about something I think has always been on our minds, especially for episode 4 and 6. But before I continue, 5 seconds of your time. I'm so sorry for being inactive. I've been building my own computer company and a lot of real life issues have come up, but everything's pretty bueno now, and now I have a lot of time to spare. You're going to be getting at least 3 to 2 videos a week, if not one every day. It just depends on what's going on for me, and I'll give you guys a set schedule soon. Anyway, let's get started. Why did the Empire exactly build a Death Star in Legends? Well, during the Empire's reign, the Emperor was always interested in the outer regions of space, not only to spread his influence and will, but to counter any threat that was known or unknown to the already war-torn galaxy between the Rebel Alliance and the Galactic Empire. The Emperor and Thrawn, which if you don't know who Thrawn is, the Grand Admiral is trusted to Palpatine on anything regarding to the unknown regions, but as well as being a brilliant tactician, one of the best in the Empire. Both knew that the Far Outsiders, as they were called before the invasion of the Yuuzhan Vong, were capable of handling ships almost the size of planets and were very deadly for any race in the galaxy, mostly because they powered organic vehicles, weapons, armor, and ships of massive scale. Now, the Empire's goal was to follow this ideal that seemed to be a constant problem. That bigger was better. The Death Star allowed the Empire to not only store ships, but to be a mobile fortress with a fleet escort, allowing them to effectively combat any invading force, whether it being from the outside or inside the galaxy. But the one major flaw is that the Death Star was not made to combat a small and maneuverable strike force like the Rebellion had. Because of the X-Wings having hyperdrives in them, it allowed them to jump out of hyperspace and immediately attack, giving the Empire little to no time to rally their defenses or their fighters effectively. But on a side note, only on the Dark Empire comics did we really see what the Empire would spend their time building if such a distraction like the Death Star didn't exist. For example, the Bellator Star Destroyer, being a big, well-rounded capital ship used against the New Republic during the Dark... Wow, I had a huge brain fart. I'm so sorry about that, guys. During the Dark Empire phase, it had probably 3 to 4 times the amount of weapons and armor and more capabilities than any ship in the Imperial fleet other than the Executor Star Destroyer. But it wasn't a Dreadnought class, it was just a super heavy capital ship. And they built a lot more ships than just the Bellator during the Dark Empire stage. They built huge capital ships. They built entire factories that could swallow up worlds and use all the materials and the raw materials that basically this monstrosity of a ship took to make fighters and weapons. Like during the Dark Empire phase, you could really see what the Empire was going to be if it did not spend all of its time building the Death Star. They would have had more capital ships, probably better fighters. I know that for a fact because during Star Wars Rebels, the Empire and Thrawn were testing out their experimental TIE fighters that basically would have turned the tide on the X-Wings, which was just the standard well-rounded fighter that the Rebel Alliance was using at the time. If the Empire didn't spend so much time building a super weapon that was made to pacify and keep the galaxy in line, imagine all the fleet projects the Empire could have finished to make an unstoppable fleet that could have even escorted the Death Star against a solid invasion from the Vong. They probably would have repelled them. The Death Star would have counteracted their world ships, and the immense firepower of the Bellators and other experimental capital ships that were supposedly supposed to be built during the fleet projects, but they're put on hold because of the Death Star. They would have been able to repel any invasion. That's for a fact. The Empire built the weapon when it should have first concentrated on what it was lacking, like more superior fighters or capital ship class fleets to change their already flawed tactics against the hit and run attacks of the Rebel Alliance. In my eyes, the Empire should have concentrated on the perfect fleet and a new line of TIE fighters, then just like the TIE Defender, then build such a weapon that could counteract a small or large strike force. We've seen it We've seen how it could repel against large-scale ships being thrown at it, especially during the Battle of Endor, but why not fighters? Tell me what you think below, guys. Should the Empire build a superweapon like the Death Star, or should they have maybe stuck with building more ships and building their fleet in order to cover more ground and buy themselves some more time? Not only before a Vaughn invasion could happen, but before the Rebel Alliance could basically get the big amount of foothold that it did in order to stand up to the Empire during the Battle of Endor. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And also, I'm very sorry. This is the first time I ever pre-wrote something, and I just rather speak from my mind, like in my other videos. So that's why I'm kind of all gibberish and whatever. I've been really out of it for a long time. So anyway, guys, this is just a warm-up video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think they should have built a Death Star? Or do you think they should have built something better, like more better fleets, or maybe a different super weapon that doesn't have such a crazy weakness against a small strike force, like how we've seen in Endor? Anyway, guys, may the Force be with you, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.